Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades, and we are back. And what are we back into? We're into the penultimate episode of Top Boy season 3, and we are now on episode 6 called If We Are Not Monsters. Before we get into it, as I always say, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so you know when I am on and doing videos. And let's talk about this episode. Let's really talk about this episode. So as we know, things are going tits up for both Deshane and Sully, but more so for Deshane, because Deshane needs to hightail it out of there, because basically he knows he will do time in prison for him killing Jeff, because as he did, he killed the man in anger and left his prints and DNA all over the place. We all know that. So now he needs to get the hell out of there. So the first place he's gone to, because remember, he's got no money. He has no money. He only has the last bit of his money that Shelley came and gave to him, and his passport. So then as this scene opens, we know Deshane is in summer house, and he's hiding out at his mum's, his mum's place basically. And this is where this guy comes in, who is going to be supporting him and getting him the hell out of there. All I will say about this man is he's got the control at the moment. He definitely has the control. Deshane has no control in regards to what happens and how it happens. He just needs to try and get this money to this man in order to get the hell out. And this is what this man has basically said to him, that you should have called me after you got the money, or told me you didn't have the money right now, because there ain't nothing that he can do for him yet. So basically Deshane is in desperate measures. He's in proper desperate measures because he needs to get the hell out. And I think that's the time, like when Jax calls through and lets him know that he's going to do a drop off with the food and everything like that, because she's going to be dropping it off to Sully, and then she was going to let him know when. And she point blank said to him as well that she knew she did wrong. And this is what I said about Kieran and Jax contacting Deshane, basically to put Deshane on game, when Sully hasn't done that, because Sully ain't looking at Deshane in him being the head of this shit no more. He is the head, and he's making sure that he's putting his rules in place. So he don't like the fact that these two, who are supposed to be on his side, has ended up gone to Deshane and putting Deshane on game. So that was Jax's mistake in terms of telling Deshane where she's going to drop shit off and when she's going to do it, basically. Because I think it was at that point when Deshane had that conversation with Jax that he decided, if I can get there before Sully, or interact with her before she gets to Sully, I'm going to take the whole shit and get the hell out of there. So this is where, as well as saying that things come home to roost for Kieran and things come home to roost for Jax, because the decisions that Jax made inadvertently cost Kieran his life. And in this episode you see what happens to him in regards to the fact that Sully's called him in, and basically Sully told him to meet him for this drop-off, and basically putting the Kieran on game and telling him that Jax had took the food, basically, because Jax had already been in touch with Sully to tell him that she took it and she was bringing it in. Now this is why I say can't lie worth a damn. He cannot lie worth a damn, because Sully already knew that Kieran was the one that told Jax where the shit was, and Kieran knew that Jax had stole it. There's no way he could not have. And this is why I said that people keep constantly underestimating Sully at that point and thinking he's stupid, because Sully had already known. The reason why Sully told Kieran that Jax had stolen it was to try and get his reaction. Now, from the reaction that Kieran gave, it was lacking. It was absolutely lacking. So what Sully then did is Sully then told Kieran he wants him there at the drop-off. Now my thing is before all of this happened, the drop-off and everything happened, and before Kieran went to meet Sully, Kieran had a conversation with Jax, basically to let her know what's going on, to put her on point, to say that, Sully wants him there at the drop-off, and as they say less at the end of the day, because she know what's going on, and because she's going to be made an example of at that drop-off, And I think he wants Kieran to watch that example, but that's not how it's going to go down. And we know that's not how it went down if you watched the program, because at the end of the day, Sully had already made the plans, got the gears whirring to say he's going to take Kieran out of it. Like literally take Kieran out of it. So Kieran says bye to his mum that he's going to go and meet Jax, basically. And that's the last that Kieran's mum sees or hears from him. And I was like, when they were having that conversation, when Jax and Kieran was having that conversation, I was kind of like, so tell her where you're going. Tell her that he's told you to meet now for the drop-off. Tell him where the drop-off's going to be, that you haven't sorted it out. But no, they didn't say anything of the kind. So we knew that Kieran was going to walk into a motherfucking trap. After we see that Jax has had that conversation with Kieran, she has a conversation with her girl to let her know that this is what she's going to do. She's going to try and make things right, and then she's going to try and see, because Sully's already said that he ain't going to be giving her a pass to nothing. So basically it's a 50-50 chance whether she comes back alive or not at the end of the day. And that's something that Jax is going to have to deal with. And then that's also something that Jax's girl's going to have to deal with, because at the end of the day, if you're in that life, best believe it's a short lifespan that you're in there for. Your life isn't going to be all bed of roses, and you're going to be answering to someone. And when you do shit wrong in terms of the other person that is at the top of that hierarchy, and they're getting affected by the behavior that you've done and the actions that you've took, best believe that you may not, and you have to, as Jax is doing, come to terms with the fact that you may not get out of there alive. So then you see Kieran meet up with Sully. And basically Sully is grilling him as if to say, well, why didn't you just man up and tell me the truth, basically, and say that you lied? And basically Sully explained to him how he knew that Kieran had lied on them people, and that made Sully look like a dickhead to them, because at the end of the day, that made Sully look dangerous to them, and now they will not be as loyal to Sully as they were at the moment. So that affects, again, Sully's bottom line. So he needed to hear it from Kieran's mouth that Kieran had lied. Now, my thing is from then, Kieran should have known as soon as he'd said, yes, I'd lied and I knew Jax had taken the food, but I didn't tell you. He should have known then that was it for him. That was it for him. But he didn't, because he honestly believed that Sully will have some type of mercy on him, bearing in mind the fact that he is the carer for his mum who is not well. So he believed that Sully would at least have some type of mercy on him, basically because of the fact that them three were good together. But this is what I mean with Sully. He's a dark horse. He's a dark horse. And that's why I said he's not as cold as Deshane is, but he can be damn well freezing at times, and he will give you that level of respect, and he will give you that level of some type of certain friendship, but you go past that and then that's it. He will cut you down at the motherfucking knees, and that's what he was doing with Kieran and with Jax at the end of the day. Two close people who he thought were close to him and he'd be able to trust broke his trust, and that was the tipping point for Sully, is the fact that Jax and then Kieran broke his trust. So that's why he had to do away with Kieran at the end of the day. It was sad, and that's all I can say. It was sad to see and sad to hear, especially when he was begging for his life. But that's how the cookie crumbles at the end of the day. If you're going into this world, you got to be prepared that your life is not going to end well. We see as the night carries on, everything is just catapulting and catapulting, especially in regards to Deshane and Sully and how the fuck he's going to get this money for this man and get out. Then you've also got the shit that's going down in Summer House and the riots and everything, and people just looting the houses that are empty, and everything's just going on. So we see that Deshane gets the call from Jax. So he knows Jax is on her way to drop off the food to Sully. So Sully's waiting in the community centre for Jax to come in with the drugs. So then what happens is Deshane jumps Jackie, basically, boxes her out and takes the food. Now, he knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that once that happened and once Jax had gone to Sully, he didn't give a shit what happened to Jax at the end of the day. All Deshane was thinking about was himself and getting the fuck out of there and having the money for this man so he could escape to Turkey, because that's where he was going, to Turkey, to build a new life for himself at the end of the day, because Shane was not going to lavish in prison. That's the one thing he wasn't going to do. He wasn't going to lavish in prison. And as he'd just stolen the shit from Sully, he knew he couldn't stay in the ends. Then he had to get the fuck out. The one thing that the Shane underestimated was the fact that Sully would be the one to take him out of this world, basically, because the Shane, I believe, thought that even though they were on the outs, that Sully would never, ever, ever, ever go down the road of literally taking his life. I believe that the Shane thought Sully would never done his dance in a million of years, and that's where his trust in Sully was, because he felt he still had enough clout with Sully for Sully not to be able to react in the way that he did. But he was taken. He was taken, and even when Sully shot his ass, even Sully was shocked that he shot him, like full on shot that he shot him. The Shane was shocked that Sully shot him, from when he said, "Oh my God, you shot me. You shot me." And the Shane knew at that point that his life was ebbing away from him. And that's when them two decided at that point to have a fucking heart to heart in regards to their feelings and how everything just spiraled out of control. And the fact that all Sully ever wanted from the Shane was an acknowledgement that he did well, acknowledgement of respect, or for him to say he respected him. But it was a little bit too late when Deshane turned around and said, "I do respect you, but you never showed that boy an ounce of respect as you went on." Now, Deshane was always the one trying to get Sully out of situations and supporting Sully, and Sully knew that Deshane would always be there and have his back. But my thing is, it came to a head because of the fact that Deshane broke his trust by stealing from him. That's what I'm saying it boiled down to. Deshane broke his trust from stealing from him. And it was at that point that you knew that Deshane had to die. Something had to happen to him at the end of the day, because this friendship was broken, never to be mended again. Then within this episode as well, we also knew that Sully had told Jax in regards to Kieran. And at first, Jax didn't believe it. So that's why Jax went to Kieran's mum's house and seen if Kieran was in, basically. And then when she said, "No, he's not dead," that he said he was with you, that she knew that he's dead. So that's another thing on Jax's conscience that she would have to take with her. Not only does she feel guilt and blame in regards to the death of Lauren, but now she's got to feel that guilt and blame in regards to the death of Kieran, because if it wasn't for her and the decisions that she made, Kieran may well have still been alive. And then if we flip back to the fact that when Deshane and Sully were having their conversation after Sully had shot him, he explained a bit about why he wanted to be the monster and not the food, basically, which is the title of this episode. Basically, Sully wanted to be seen as the top dog. He wanted to be seen as someone you should be fucking scared of crossing at the end of the day. And because he wasn't getting that respect from Deshane, and people were seeing that he wasn't getting that respect from Deshane, case in point, as I said, you got Kieran and Jax calling Deshane, usurping the authority of Sully each and every time, and other people trying to usurp the authority of Sully each and every time, and he didn't like it. He didn't like it because at the end of the day, he wanted to be respected as the top dog in his own right, but nobody was giving him that respect, least of all Deshane. We come to the end, right to the end, after the whole of the shit has gone down. Deshane's been left for dead, basically, and Sully's got the food, and he's walking his daughter to school and basically telling her about the fact that she may not see him for a while, which she was quite okay with. And then he makes the normal walk he makes back through the park, and Stefan comes through with the gun. And this is what I said to you, Stefan is not about that life, like seriously not about that life at the end of the day. So basically he turned around and he said Sully wasn't worth it after Sully done told him that whatever he felt is dead, like he don't feel a thing. And you can see this, as I keep on saying, Sully is dead. Sully's dead behind the eyes. Sully don't give a shit about anything. All Sully cares about is what's going on with him and his life and his patch in terms of being top boy at the end of the day. Other than that, he didn't give a shit, because I kind of think that I don't know if he was hoping for Stefan to pull the trigger, to give him some sort of release, because I think Sully's got to the point where he was just tired, like tired of the shit as well. Yes, he wanted to be top boy, but he was tired of constantly having his head on a swivel and looking from here, there and everywhere, because there was always going to be enemies. Always going to be enemies, and he didn't have the protection of Deshane anymore, because he literally took Deshane out. And I think that him taking Deshane out was the last peg in the hole for him in regards to literally just shutting his emotions down completely. But anyway, as we see that Stefan walks off after he says you're not worth it, and Sully gets to his car, packs up and everything, and then this is the bit that shocked the hell out of me, because I was not expecting it. Like, I well and truly was not expecting Sully to be shot in the way that he was shot, but the person ran past, shot through the window, shot him in his head, and then walked off. And nobody knows who that person was. And I don't think we'll ever get to know who that person was, because at the end of the day, they said that this was going to be the last episode in the series. So we may not know who it was that decided to shoot Sully. But I would say that they ended up killing off both of them, because at the end of the day, you ain't going to be able to get to where you're going and then nobody not trying to done your dance. I think we all thought that either Deshane or Sully would live, or both of them, but I don't think that they were not planning it that way. They definitely were not planning it that way, because at the end of the day, you can't be seen to glorifying certain behaviors that happens within the series, and probably showing people that at the end of the day, you don't have longevity in this game. You really don't. And this is shown in the way that Deshane got killed off and the way that Sully got killed off, and they are the two main characters. Now, who would really come up behind them? Who would really come up behind them, to be fair? Because Jax is saying she's out, Kieran's got killed, and then the ones in Jamie's fraction don't have the ability or the know-how in which to do what they're doing. That's why they were just the runners for the top people, but they're both now gone. So what happens next, we don't know. Like, we really don't know. And I was kind of a bit miffed that it ended that way. I understood why it had to end that way, but I was kind of miffed that they actually didn't leave one of them, but I understood why they wouldn't. But all I can say is Sully had a lot of enemies. But the one person that I'm thinking is, I don't think it's Jax. Reason why being I said I don't think it's Jax is because Jax doesn't have the heart to shoot anybody. Like, out of all of the top boys that I've seen, and this season as well, Jax does not have the heart to shoot anybody. It's like the girl, when she stole the drugs from the girl, she just clotted that girl in her head top and tied her up. She didn't shoot her, because shooting her at the end of the day would have helped her in nobody knowing who took the fucking food at the end of the day, or them clocking on that someone knew where it was to go take it. So you had that. In terms of Stefan, we already seen, unless he decided to come back at the last minute, I just don't see it happening. And me myself, I kept on pausing the end just to see if I could catch an outfit. And the only thing that I did catch, if you looked carefully, was the person that did it was actually wearing a type of greyish, blackish hoodie, and that's not what Stefan was wearing. The person that was wearing those things throughout the episode was Sai. And the reason why I believe it was Sai, as I said in the last episode, who did it, is the fact that Sully fucked him over royally in front of his group. That was the penultimate bit, by sticking a gun in his mouth and making him vomit on himself. The fact that Sully shot Jamie, and he said to Stefan, as I said, that someone's gonna done that boy's dance. And then the fact that Sai knows how to shoot a gun, and he gave Stefan a gun, so he knew Stefan wanted revenge on Sully. So he also knew that Stefan knew the movements of Sully, so it could have been so much easier for him to be hidden in regards to him knowing where Stefan was going to meet up with Sully with the gun, be hidden, see Stefan walks away, and then he decided to take his shot. That's how I'm seeing that play out. But I think there's going to be all sorts of scenarios coming out in regards to how Sully's dance got done. But at the end of the day, that's all I can say in regards to that. I'm kind of sorry and a little bit sad that, like, you know, there's going to be no more seasons. I was kind of hoping that they might do another season, but then how are they going to do it with without Deshane and Sully at the end of the day? Because they were the main points in these seasons. They were the main characters. But anyhow, that is where I am going to leave it, my renegades and everybody else. But as I always say, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button, so when you know when I am back on and doing videos. And the next lot of videos that I will be concentrating on now is Married at First Sight, which starts tomorrow. And I will also be concentrating on Love is Blind season 5, which starts on the 22nd. So I hope to see you all then. Peace out, one love.